everyone mute themselves, I guess, maybe, except Randa. Would that work?
And everybody, I'm going to, woke up this morning with justice, and then with freedom, and then woke up this morning with justice. And then it sounds kind of weird, but singing and listening with freedom. Okay. So that's how we're going to go. Hope that comes out. Woke up this morning with my mind just stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, so stayed on freedom. Woo! I woke up this morning with my mind, stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now I woke up this morning with my mind just stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind, I did, stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind just, stayed on justice. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I'm sitting and listening with my mind. Stayed on freedom. I'm sitting and listening with my mind just, stayed on to freedom. I'm sitting and listening with my mind now. Stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. Everybody, I woke up this morning with my mind. Stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind. Woo! I stayed on freedom. I did. I woke up this morning with my mind. Oh, stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Karen, you muted.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Welcome, everyone, to Tuesdays with Tillis, week number 168. I hope that you also feel that time and space are vastly overrated, and that and I hope you can feel with me the joy of seeing everyone's faces and feeling the faithfulness of this witness. And I think we have a bunch of things that people want to talk about today. Does anyone want to start with the Postal Service?
Oh. Karen?
Yes.
You had wanted me to do an invocation?
Scarlett, yes. Thank you. That's why I didn't do one, and then I forgot to ask you. Thank you so much. Jules and I were talking about this, and we realized we really want an invocation, and we really want Scarlett to do it. Thank you, Scarlett, so much. So deep breath, everyone, and take it away.
Good morning, beautiful people. You know, Karen always calls us beautiful people, whether or not we've put on makeup in weeks, if we're still in our pajamas. So good morning, beautiful people. As she said, we've gathered for 168 weeks. We have gathered on busy New Bern Avenue with cars and loud trucks and police cars and blaring ambulances whizzing by us. But I ask you now to just come away for a bit from that noise. Come away from the worry, the fear, the mistrust, the uncertainty. Come away, quiet yourself, and simply breathe. Deep, quiet breaths. And trust me for just a moment. You know, it's our spirit which unites us. Our love for one another, love for our country, and love for this world that is in so much distress. That's what unites us. We miss being together physically. We miss the hugs. We miss being able to sing as a joyous group. But we're so happy we've got this technology. We gather today as we lift our hearts filled with hope and gratitude for this spirit of love. And I want to share with you briefly a few words from a Ugandan songwriter and poet, Annie Masambe. We're going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It may be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. So breathe. And as a community of love and hope, knowledge and persistence, we as Tuesdays with Tillis say, Amen.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. Thank you so much. I can really feel how that deepened everything. And from that deepened place, can someone lift up our concerns about the post office?
Karen, this is Herb. Oh, can I say a few things about the post office?
Yes.
The post office, normally I have packages that go to the post office like once a day. And I think that organization is probably one of the most efficient ones that the government has. And yeah, it's expensive to put stuff in the mail and stuff, but if you put a letter in the post office, in the mailbox, it gets where it's going, where it's addressed to. It'll get there. I have put tons of bills in the mail, and they always get there. And I don't understand what all this controversy is about the post office. Okay, that's my comment.
Thank you.
Hey, Herb, I sent my future bride in 1973 a postcard from Hawaii. She never received it.
Yeah.
She says I never sent it, though. Anyhow, the post office is the most liked federal operation of all. People love the post office. They should go back to the days when it was in the rural communities. They were bankers.
Yes.
People that can't afford to open a checking account, go to payday lenders rather than cash their checks and borrow money. And I think one of my conspiracies in my own head is that Trump does not want to fund the post office because he does not want vote by mail.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Except the Republicans have been working on defunding the post office for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A long history.
Yes.
Republicans want to privatize because privatization equals profits.
Right.
Corporations.
And who makes somebody fund their retirement 75 years out?
Jan?
Apparently, the House has passed a bill which would provide additional funding for the post office. The Senate is blocking it. So the demand has been that some of the bailout money, which Trump has authority to disperse as he wills, could go to the post office to help with a bailout, but he's said he won't do that because his friend McConnell is blocking it in the Senate. So, so it requires a lot of public pressure and a huge amount of hollering to make it clear that this is a bipartisan issue, that everybody wants the post office not only to succeed, but also to be able, again, to be a banking place for poor people. And because it reaches everybody, including places where I grew up in Alaska.
Thank you for that. I actually did reach my friend Sam in Senator Tillis's office today. This is so important. I think if everyone could call both senators about this, it's really important, because in those bills that were passed, Trump blocked the $13 billion, which was a grant to the post office, $11 billion for forgiveness of debt. And this does have a really long history. A lot of legislation that made things harder for the post office over the years, and just the steady dismantlement of the administrative state. So when I talked to Sam in Tillis's office today, he said, "Oh, we're going to take care of the post office." But I think that the more calls and public pressure that GOP senators get, the more money the post office will get. And this really is a battle between the privatization of the federal government and the raiding of the federal treasury and, us, the people. So we're so glad. Yeah.
Yes, he's going to take care of it.
Yeah, what is
That may mean that they're going to privatize it, and that will take care of it.
So that's why we need to just keep that pressure on about the post office.
what do you think?
Go ahead.
What do you think are good points to bring up when you call the senators?
I think that the thing that Mike said about how actually 90% of Americans support the Postal Service and support not privatizing the Postal Service. Trump's popularity is standing at 45% today. So those two numbers might be something for Tillis to hear about. And also, the Postal Service has been part of the fabric of American life since 1775, since Benjamin Franklin was appointed the first Postmaster General. I think those things, and also that, just calling him on his shit, that he just keeps rewarding the billionaires. And if this becomes a for-profit system, poor people will not get mail. Rural delivery is not profitable. So, it's just another way of chipping away at people. Karen, did you want to talk?
Yeah, so I wanted to mention also for North Carolina, that there's the House Select Committee. And so a lot of people are encouraging folks to encourage our representatives and senators to have that mail-in ballot. And so unfortunately, the garbage guy is outside.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Berger and Moore are, Republicans, so they don't want it. So, but we need to keep pressure on our North Carolina reps and senators too, not just Tillis and Burr.
Yeah, that's really important. And that committee, I actually had an assignment from, Tuesday or some other call with some of you guys, but it was to call Ayelet Colston and ask her about the mail-in ballot question. So I just want to report back about what she said. Ayelet is kind of an expert on the state. And what she said is she believes there is zero chance with Berger that we will get mail-in ballots for North Carolina in time for this election, or maybe at all. But there are many, many ways that we can goose up and strengthen absentee ballots and strengthen getting out the vote. So we'll stay on this and contacting the General Assembly to keep pushing at them, because right now you need either two witnesses or a notary. So
You definitely need a notary with even two witnesses.
Karen?
Yes.
Robin Lane has brought up a really great point in the chat. One message that resonated with Robin Lane. Hi, Robin. Thank you. was sent by a family member who reminded Tillis that she depends on the post office for official notices, tax, exchange, our driver's registration, for example, medications.
Great. Thank you.
The post office is also one of the only federal things that's mentioned in the Constitution.
Oh, good, good. Another good thing to tell the senators. Okay, do you want to talk about dictatorship or have the grannies and then talk about dictatorship?
Grannies. Grannies.
Okay, grannies. Can the grannies who are singing unmute themselves? And I'm going to mute myself.
All grannies present and accounted for?
I think.
Okay. Many years ago, I heard a story that the Chinese character for chaos is a combination of the characters for danger and opportunity. What an interesting thing to contemplate. We have a great opportunity in this time of chaos to offer alternative, progressive solutions to the big issues that confront this unraveling democracy, like healthcare for all, voting rights, climate chaos, $15 an hour, should be even more than that. And this is what our Raging Granny song is about today. I've typed in the chorus. It's the third one down on my screen of Zoom chat. Can you all see that?
No.
I hope you can. If you can sing along in your muted.
For the values we want to see now, that one?
Yes, that's it. The world is changing and rearranging. We must take this opportunity to fight, fight, fight for the values we want to see now. We must lift them to the light.
Zoom audio now unmuted.
Free education, food abundance, healthcare for all, living wages. We must fight, fight, fight for the values we want to see now. We must lift them to the light.
No fossil fuels and earth that cools.
Oh, that's what I was getting now.
For animals and plant life, we must fight, fight, fight for the values we want to see now. We must lift them to the light.
Save our democracy, no right-wing monarchy. Voting rights and human rights, we must fight, fight, fight for the values we want to see now. We must lift them to the light.
COVID-19, it's downright frightening. And the chaos that comes with it, we must fight, fight, fight for the values we want to see now. We must lift them to the light.
Audio now unmuted.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
I recognize that tune, you guys. Jay.
Thank you so much. Okay, who wants to start talking about dictatorship?
Start. It's really greatly concerns me. I've almost lived 3/4 of a century, and it's the first time ever have I heard an American president claim absolute power. And we've all suspected he was headed toward an authoritarian government, a dictatorship. And we don't, I'm just so frustrated by it, I hardly know what to say. It's just unreal. I'm a student of American history. I think I'm pretty good with American presidential history in particular. And nowhere does a president argue that he has absolute power.
In case you missed it, yesterday in his press conference, Trump said, when somebody is the president of the United States, the authority is total.
Yeah. Pretty scary.
The sad thing, really, though, is more that McConnell and the rest of the Senate is continuing to support it regardless of all of that. It's the governors who are standing up to him and saying, hold on, let's pause. You can't tell us what to do.
Yes, really good point. Even some Republican governors. Yeah.
So does it seem to others like it's a battle between states' rights and federal government? Is that sounding familiar? And does it scare the bejesus out of anybody else?
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that in having conversations with people this week over my fears and my my horror about this kind of authoritarian takeover of all of the post office and everything else that we value in living in a democracy and in having a government that provides for the people. One of the things that gives me any hope at all is that we can overcome the imbalance of power that we have. And if we are looking at the post office to deliver ballots, it's because we still have some belief that the voting system is a way to lead us out of the situation that we're in. And if we really believe that, then I think we have an obligation to put our energies into changing the voting system, because it's the only way that we're going to prevail. We know that the voting system has failed us in providing us with presidents who never really were elected by the people. And so I've been doing some deep diving into election science and into the alternatives that we have to a winner-take-all process. And I'm not talking about a parliamentary government, because I think that's something that is a long way off for us, where it's truly representative and where all points of view have representation. We don't have that. We just have a 50% plus one representation in everything. And you know that I've been talking for a long time about alternative ways of voting that aren't a winner-take-all process. So I'm hoping that, I know that there are other places, including states now, that are not using the old ways of voting and are going to either ranked choice or approval voting. And I'd just like to take a second to invite you to contact me if you're interested in looking at approval voting as an alternative to what we have in North Carolina.
Vicki, can you put your email in the chat box, please?
I will, and I'm also going to put a link to just some preliminary look that you can from the Center for Election Science, and I'll leave it at that. But I think that if we keep thinking that we're going to do the same thing over and over again, it doesn't give us much hope, and we need hope. And this is something that gives me hope. So I'll share that with you, and I'll be quiet.
Okay, that just took us slightly off the subject, and I do want to get back to the press conference yesterday.
My concern is with the press. You know, there are some very brave people in that press corps, and they have been publicly maligned.
Yes.
They have been said that why can't you be nice when you ask a question?
Yeah.
How dare you ask that question?
Right.
And I am so fearful that Trump will finally say no press, and he will do his 2-hour campaign rants,
right,
without the press being there. I am just most concerned. And if we lose the press, we're doomed.
Does anyone else find it ironic that the party that lived on the states' rights, I mean, it was built on the idea of states' rights, is now the party of authoritarianism, and the federal government can run anything that they want?
Yes, I do find it ironic.
Very
This
good
is the party
point.
that
Very good point.
the party that has always promoted limited government.
Right. Right.
Well,
When it serves them, it's like the Bible passages that serve them, you know, slaves obey your masters, women obey your husbands, but forget about feeding the poor, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Exactly the same thing.
I think all the questions from the press should be done by that one lady from CNN.
She's great.
I mean, if the press stops covering him, though, nobody will hear him.
Yes.
The thing.
Yes.
Well, then you'll just have OAN and Fox News there, and they'll be the only ones. And,
Exactly.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the John Oliver from a couple of weeks ago on OAN, it is fantastic and really worth the watch.
Is there any possibility you could put that link in the chat box?
Sure. I'll find it.
Thanks, Andy. So, yeah, I think it's really important. I have a little silver lining here, I think, but I don't want to prematurely put it in, because I think we're expressing important feelings of fear and worry. Anybody else about this?
I'd like to take comfort in the historians. When I listen like John Meacham or Michael Bacheloff, any of them speak historically, this is ridiculous. The president's power is proscribed in the Constitution clearly. He can only go so far. He can only do so much. But everything about Trump is in defiance of norms and rule of law, and I don't feel that. I don't feel really reassured at all.
So
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So yesterday was just crazy. I do not tune into those things, but I did watch a clip of part of it just because there was so much chat about it. He played a propaganda video, and then he just completely melted down. And so the thing about that meltdown, it's really kind of worth watching if you missed it, because do you remember the scene in The Wizard of Oz, Pay No Attention to the Man Behind the Curtain? It was that. It was pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, because I just felt watching Trump like he knows we can see that the emperor has no clothes, that the man is behind the curtain is completely weak, impotent. And I feel like that is really becoming revealed. So if you are feeling scared about his power grab, definitely watch either the clip from yesterday of him melting down, or the Wizard of Oz clip that's on YouTube, Pay No Attention to the Man Behind the Curtain, because I think I'm going to put that link in so you can watch it. And I think you're going to feel better.
Karen, there's something I'd like to mention about that. Something I heard people talk about a few weeks ago, and I haven't heard recently. Surprisingly, a lot of things about the presidency and the power of the presidency and the way the federal government works is normative and not specifically prescribed in law. And the things that are and are being violated, they've got to go through the court process, and it takes forever. But an awful lot of things are still just the way we've always done them. And if you go looking for a law or something in the Constitution that specifically says that's the way it's got to be, you won't find it.
Yeah, Lori. Oh, sorry. Lori, go ahead, start talking.
Fortunately, you have an attorney general that believes in the power of unitary government of the presidency. So all those norms, breaking those norms, are supported by the attorney general, and that's, concretizing this authoritarian approach. There's no resistance to it, really.
Right.
Unless we raise our voices and push our representatives to scream, holler, yell, and resist like we're trying to.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. we also wanted to talk about two pieces of good news. Well, there's a couple other things. Does anyone want to talk about this group that's been protesting in Raleigh, trying to get things reopened? Anybody know anything about that?
I mean, they're going after Governor Cooper is what they're doing. They're targeting Governor Cooper to complain about him. And I read there was something similar going on with Governor Whitmer in Michigan.
Okay.
Being attacked that way.
One of the founders of that group is an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, that would make sense.
And their plan apparently is to stand 6 feet apart in that parking lot that's near the General Assembly. And no, not stand, stay in their cars and honk their horns every 15 minutes for I don't know how long.
Oh,
that's apparently the sign of the protest. I don't know what day though.
Who's crashing around? We need to mute them. So, you know, there is a counter group. So if anybody finds a way to get in touch with the counter group so that we can support them, there's a petition that they've started, but I haven't been able to contact them.
I just joined their group this morning on Facebook. It's Stay Home NC.
Okay.
And they let you in and they have a list of behaviors they expect.
And do they have a petition? A way to sign?
I didn't stay on it long enough to search. I just joined it.
Okay.
To get the information later.
Okay. Okay.
I tried to infiltrate the other group, and it does require a series of questions, and there's some vetting. So I assume I'm not going to be accepted, but if I get in, I'll go back.
Nice try, though. Nice try. Okay, let's do some good news. Somebody talk about Wisconsin and why it's good news.
So there was a Supreme Court seat, a state Supreme Court seat held in Wisconsin by a Republican who was appointed by the governor a couple of years ago, who recused himself in this recently. And then he was up for an actual election, and then the Wisconsin primary vote happened, and he lost miserably to the Democrat, which, all of the Republicans were trying to keep pushing to have the primary vote, even though they had all the stay at home, and they were refusing to let any, mail-in voting or any of that kind of stuff was happening. And so it's a big defeat for the Republicans there because they basically were trying to suppress the vote as hard as they could, and the Dems still won. So it was just a really good, feel-good story out of that.
It was really a feel-good story. That's a great summary. Thank you so much. Yeah.
The thing that was particularly scary about that, this is Mark Swallow, was that had gone through the state Supreme Court and then the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yes. And
was still allowed to force the election, even though there's a pandemic. So that's the thing that's really annoying about this, and in my opinion. And then, of course, with the results being as positive as they were for the anti-view of that, then I think that's just reinforcement, I think, of the rationality that needs to reoccur in our country.
Yes.
I think another positive that came out of that is another Trump endorsee, especially in the state of Wisconsin, where he won, was down in flames.
Yep. Galia.
So I'm from Wisconsin, so my sister was texting all about this because, and our friends are in Wisconsin, about just the terribleness and the danger of being forced to have to go out to vote under these conditions. And a lot of people didn't get their absentee ballots. And so they couldn't send them in because they didn't get them for whatever reason. And then like 3 tubs of them were found in Milwaukee that I'm not sure if they were going to the Appleton area or back, but actually a Republican congressman or senator got involved because finally he's affected, you know. But I think part of it is just people being angry about these machinations and just being like, we're voting, we're doing this is ridiculous. So, you know, the Wisconsin rulings were terrible, and I think they're really pissing off the people in Wisconsin, and very excited about the new justice.
Yeah, hopefully pissing off the whole country so that November 2020 will reap the benefit of that. Good. Yeah, Lori.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court from a 5-2 now to a 4-3. So,
yes,
that Wisconsin has hope, and we have to keep focusing on those courts to make it easier for or at least for us to challenge right-wing Supreme Court decisions.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, in Milwaukee, there's supposed to be 180 polling places, and there were only 5, just to make it as dangerous as possible.
I think it's also a testament to how the Democrats, how much aware they were and how determined they were not to be defeated in spite of what the Republicans tried to do to them.
Exactly. Thank you, Bessie, for that. Thank you.
So who do we write to thank them? Like, I just want to thank the voters of Wisconsin somehow.
So I guess you'd write to the Milwaukee Journal.
Okay.
Write an LTE.
You could put a meme on your Facebook page and have it go viral.
Good.
Oh yeah, we could do a little video and send it.
That's good. Mike, you're muted. Start over. Go ahead.
Send it to Susan. Send it to the Capital Times. It's Madison's big newspaper, also.
Oh, okay.
Good idea.
I will.
Yeah.
Or if anybody wants to send it together, write something together, I'd be glad to.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so more good news for the election. Virginia. Somebody talk about Virginia.
This is Mark. I'll give it a shot. So the governor signed a new law. I think it was yesterday that kind of rolled back that repealed the Virginia voter ID law and expanded early voting. And so it requires you don't need a photo ID any longer. And extends the voting by an hour from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you get 45 days for early voting. And the thing that's really great is that it replaced a Lee Jackson Day holiday with an Election Day holiday. So it'll be a state holiday on Election Day.
So cool. Beautiful. Yes.
The other good news in Virginia is they've had some energy policy bills, and there's some good and bad news about it, but essentially it helps Dominion Energy move away from natural gas, but they get total control over wind in North Carolina, but it does move Virginia away from fossil fuels.
Great.
Some fossil fuels. But still, it's better movement than what we've had in North Carolina would do. So
they also extended. The governor also signed a bill extending all civil rights protections to the LGBTQ community, and had it included in their civil rights laws. I just read that, I think, yesterday afternoon. So I sent my niece, who's been in gay straight alliance ever since she was in high school. I saw it in the New York Times this morning, I think it was. And the gun, they also have limited purchase of handguns and other things that one would have never thought of in the Capitol's of the Confederacy. So that's good news in Virginia.
Yay. Hi, Joy.
You're muted.
Hi, this is Sandy. I just want to say real quickly that I don't know if the Breredens agree, but I think it was for Virginia to go to off fossil fuels 100% by 2050. So it's a wonderful effort, but it's not soon enough. And then the other thing I want to call out here that is very good news is Amy McGrath in Kentucky is doing a marvelous job and has outraised McConnell.
Woohoo!
Yay, yay, yay.
Karen, you are muted.
Karen, you're muted.
You were muted, Karen.
Karen, you muted.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I was getting some desperate emails from the Republican Party saying that Mitch is in danger. I love those desperate emails.
Hey, I wanted to add about in Virginia, and what you're seeing now is because they were able to flip their legislature, that they were passing some really progressive bills, including yesterday they passed a Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, which we still do not have in North Carolina. And now South Carolina and Virginia both have better protections for pregnant workers. Like North Carolina, you still technically can be fired for being pregnant. And so some of our partners, I'm with NARAL Pro-Choice North Carolina, some of our partners, we're trying to figure out ways to, like, as there are essential workers who are probably also pregnant workers, like how we can sort of try and get some of those protections. But now Virginia and South Carolina both have those extra pregnant protections. And North Carolina really is one of the few states that doesn't have that at the state level. All we have is the federal protection, which is pretty loose.
Karen, you're muted. It's still muted.
I'm sorry. Tara, thank you so much for that. And let us know how we can support that. We'll put it in the tiny letter. And also, I wonder, while we have you, can you talk a little bit about what's happening to pregnant people in this crisis?
Well, I mean, that's, I think, one of the things that people don't know is, like, because pregnant people are normally high risk for respiratory infection and they are limited in what kind of treatment they can get when they're pregnant. I think the CDC has suggested that pregnant folks consider themselves high risk. And so that's one of the things we think about with, like, there are probably, I mean, for what it's worth, like low wage workers who are now being considered essential workers, which is childcare, healthcare, food services, all kinds of services, are also disproportionately women. And probably disproportionately, some of them are going to be experiencing pregnancy. And we also have concerns about, like, people being able to access birth control because you cannot get it from a pharmacy. A lot of times you cannot get it, in like a year in advance, all these things. And so, or you have to get a doctor, not necessarily from the pharmacy. And so I do anticipate that there might be, like, more unplanned pregnancies, which then, the unplanned pregnancy rate, of course, is connected to the rate for abortion. And right now, the governor has not called for abortion clinics to be closed, but we know that that is loud. And I will ask, the antis are pretty loud about that here. And they're going to get emboldened as places like Texas potentially do shut down their clinics with court orders. And I know that they are sending out information to share with their people to talk to the governor. So I do want to ask if all of you could reach out just through the governor's contact page, and just thank him for supporting abortion access and reproductive rights like he did last year when he vetoed that bad bill. And then just also say, we support abortion access. We know that abortion is essential and time-sensitive care during a public health crisis. The American College of OBGYNs has made that statement. And just let him know that, just to help to have those voices trickle in, because I think the anti-abortion voices are certainly going to be out there.
Thank you so much, Tara. So one thing that we haven't gotten to that we have time for is to talk about prisoners and immigrants.
really quickly, I will add that one of the things that we had partnered with some folks like Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, and some other maternal health groups to ask that they release pregnant prisoners at this moment, particularly ones who are in jail because they couldn't meet bond. But that is really not a safe place for them. They need to be home in their communities where they can take care. And so so we did send a letter to the Department of Public Safety, and they have responded. They are trying to take some steps. I mean, ideally, what we want is to, and I think they have started doing that, releasing incarcerated folks, but also there are for folks who are stuck in jail because they can't meet bail. The Durham Bail Fund is, if you make a donation there and you write pregnancy in the comment line, that money will be flagged particularly for helping to get pregnant folks out. So that's something that you can do to, help get some of those folks out who are just stuck in those conditions, and they definitely don't need to be there.
Yeah, that's great. And, there's a big push to free prisoners. I'm sure you've all been making calls. And I found when I made these calls to like sheriff's offices, and I forget who I called, what I realized is that they are responding to public pressure. They are letting go of all the juveniles that they can and all the people that they can. But I think it's only because there's been sustained public pressure and we need to keep it up. Julie?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just going to say, this is my first time attending. Vicki Ryder invited me and told me about the Tuesdays with Tillis. So, and last week I had an issue. For some reason, I could see you, but I couldn't hear you and you couldn't hear me. So I don't know I don't know what happened there, but in response to your question, most of my engagement has still been with organizations in New York. So I've been working with the RAP group. We've been doing Twitter storms for releasing aging people. So I've been doing that on Twitter and Facebook. So that's.
Julie, explain what that group is.
It's the Release RAP, Release Aging People from Prison. Is the name of the group. And so they've done several Twitter storms. And of course, these were all to Cuomo and to the governor in California in particular. So that's what those are the times that I have participated. Tomorrow, we're doing a reach out from Amia Abu-Jamal, who is, a political prisoner. So I worked last night on a chart to use tomorrow, because it's a 9 to 5 Twitter storm and phone calls and so forth. But of course, we want all the prisoners that are aging and political prisoners. We're requesting that they be released.
That's so great. Can you send us some information about that? Put it in the chat board, or you can email us.
All right, I'll do that.
Thank you.
This is slightly off, but since you mentioned it in the beginning, thank you for the information about the Constitution and the post office, because I got up this morning to do a poster, and I'm going to send that out today. And as soon as the lockdown is over, I plan to go to the post office. I have a lot of engagement with the post office since I live primarily in New York and have been down here. And I actually got a phone call yesterday, which is the first time ever. They were concerned that I had received my forwarded mail, because I came down on the 1st expecting to go back on the 19th, and everything has changed. So I had to do a temporary change of address. So I have received my mail twice, and one of the attendants called to be sure, because she was concerned about it. And I was really only concerned about my paycheck that was in there, and I could have cared less about the rest of the mail, but I didn't bother to explain all of that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us today for the first time.
Yes.
Welcome.
I'm looking forward.
Julie, if you'll send me the contact information for RAP and any other groups, and I can include it in the chat minutes that I'm taking so that we can send them out the way we did last week.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll do that.
Thank you. So we have time to talk about immigration, and I know Lori and others have worked on this. Can tell us kind of what's happening and how to help. Yes.
So I've been on some of the COVID calls.
Great. Yes, COVID calls.
Yeah. God, Ileana's new group is Poder. Poder is doing great work. I know La Semilla was looking for donations, and they're going to be doing food distribution, and as well as gift cards. I missed last week's call, so I don't know. I think tonight is another call, but I can double back on that. But El Centro Hispano is doing some terrific work as well, and I know some folks don't really, doesn't matter. They're doing some very good work as well, relative to giving out money as well as foodstuffs.
Great. Lori.
Correct me, Elena, about the immigrant fund that CWS is using. Boy, I'm blanking right now. I'll have to look at my notes, the name of it, but it was originally designed to help people whose families of those who were detained, to support those families. But given the crisis, it's including undocumented folks, families during the crisis. So it's expanding its reach, and it will go primarily in the Triangle to families, that are suffering from the crisis. Isn't it, Elena? Don't you think it's called the Immigrant Rights Fund?
This is Libby. It's Immigration Solidarity Fund, formerly the Vulnerable Families Fund, and it is an emergency. But they are so low on funds, they were asking for contributions.
Exactly. That's why I mentioned it.
Right. And CWS is just the administrator. There are, Isaac Villegas and Caballero are, she and Isaac, drew a big group of people initially. So I have the information about where to send the donations.
There you go.
I will send that to y'all.
Can you post it
on the chat?
Yeah, and send it to me.
I'll send it to you, and then you can post it.
Sounds great. Okay, that's great.
And there was another thing, Karen, about those being locked up.
Yeah, Libby.
The most horrific detention center we know of is in Stewart. It's called the Stewart in Lumpkin, Georgia.
Yes.
And there was a plea to please write to the sheriff there, along with 2 ICE agents of the regional and, of course, the national. And I have somewhere in my notes that information, and I'll send that to you too, because they were asking just to send emails. I don't know if I have phone numbers, but we could find them.
Yeah, this kind of pressure is really paying off in North Carolina and can pay off there. Yeah, Lib, go ahead. I can't hear you, but you are unmuted.
So I said, Libby may want to comment further about FLOC and the fact that the people are being bused to do farm labor work and are very much vulnerable, not only because their housing is inadequate, they're not being given masks, they're not being given any protective gear to do their work and to pick the food. So there's that connection that we could make in regards to food distribution as well as protecting immigrants' rights. Well, they're not immigrants; they are.
Yeah.
Libby, do you want to say any more about that?
I sent Karen
Yes, I have it.
Yeah, and she, I think, is going to post it about what exactly do they need, what happens when they get on those buses and then they land up in these farm camps and nobody is really protecting them, but
right.
they don't have any protective gear. But there are links on, we have masks, but to get them to where they're supposed to be is very difficult. So they are asking, because Ohio is the base for FLOC, the Farm Labor Organizing Committee, and they are asking for contributions, and they will ship because they do have masks, they do have sanitation and personal hygiene and supplies that they can ship to North Carolina. But just getting supplies to them is difficult. These farm camps are way, way far away, some of them. And I don't know about these buses, why they supply them on the buses while they're traveling, but they don't.
Maybe part of the reason I'm commenting now is because I used to teach ESL in the summertime and to immigrants on farms in North Carolina. So there are places in Benson, there are places within a 50-mile radius of us, or 100-mile radius, easy, to check out how they're being housed and who's picking what. Because it's strawberry season, it'll be, and I can go to the farmer's market this afternoon and ask some of these questions. But the Carolina Farm Stewardship is also a valuable resource for farmers to contact.
So this is a big issue, and it reminds me a lot of the food issue. Some of us have been meeting every week around the food issue. We're taking baby steps. We get overwhelmed, but I feel very encouraged by people doing this. And this issue reminds me, we know people who make masks. We know some people who can figure out how to get the mask. Is this worth also having another Zoom call just for this topic? Would people be interested in that? To try to organize this a little bit? Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do that because we probably are out of time, and I really appreciate everybody so much.
And I will drive masks to wherever they need to be.
That's a beautiful offer, and we know mask makers too. So anybody have any urgent concerns before we sing together?
I have a quick tidbit of good news. I don't want to be overlooked. The Supreme Court upheld the governor of Kansas over the weekend regarding her restrictions on worship.
Yes. Thank you. That was excellent. Thank you. Kansas governor, right?
Yes.
Sued. Who did she sue? The legislature, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court. That's wonderful. Thank you for bringing that up. Well, we have 3 solid pieces of good news. And don't forget to watch the clip from The Wizard of Oz. You just have to Google, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. It'll cheer you right up. So I'm going to turn this over to my favorite Bernie supporter.
And Karen, could you?
Mike, yes, I will. But Mike, can you say something so I know that you're? Oh, there you are.
Oh, I'm there.
Okay. And Randa, I'm gonna have you hold.
Wash your hands, everybody.
Okay. Okay.
So this will go full screen.
Yes, it's full screen.
I won't go like this with it.
I hope my lyrics that are on a paper coincide with the ones that I happen to come out of my mouth anyway. We'll see.
Hey, yeah, Michael wrote some new lyrics. They're great.
I want to thank Scarlett again. I want to thank everybody. This has just been so beautiful. And Scarlett started us off so well. And thank you, Jewel. And thank you, Marcy. And thank you, everyone, so much. Okay. I'll shut up.
Karen, she's a silver sun. You best walk her away and watch her shine. If you don't like who's in there, vote them out. That's what election day is all about. The superpower we got is called the ballot box. And if you don't like who's in there, vote them out. Vote them out. And when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. Yeah, we'll bring some great ones in, and they'll find us hope again. And if you don't like who's in there, vote them out. Mailing ballots sure would help a lot, as Trump will put the election day in doubt. Let's end deceit and fraud, restore the rule of law. Just need an honest chance to vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out. And when they're gone, sing and dance and shout. We'll bring some great ones in, and they'll find us hope again. We don't like who's in there, we'll vote them out. Let's get to work, we sure know. Be fierce but strong, protect the future now. Let's end the fraud and lies, get the White House sanitized. That nasty virus Trump will be voted out. Vote him out. Vote him out. When they're gone, we'll sing and twist and shout. We'll bring some good ones in, maybe a woman and Joe Biden. Yeah. Because we don't like who's in there. Vote him out. Vote him out. Vote him out. When they're gone, sing and dance and shout. Yeah, we'll bring some great ones in, and you have hope again. Because we don't like who's in there. Vote him out. There you go. Check and hear you singing along.
All right. Whoa.
That was my endorsement, my full-throated endorsement. It's literally.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We believe.
We believe.
We believe the truth will win.
We believe that truth will win.
We believe the truth will win.
We believe that truth will win.
We believe the truth will win.
We believe.
We believe that truth will win.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all so
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
See you later, Libby.
Could you see Randa's words up in the big screen?
No.
Okay, everybody is hanging up.
The main
Well,
person
some folks are
who's
hanging
talking.
up. And that will be it for the stream of the Tuesdays with Tillis
They would have to go
virtual
in the group
protest
chat.
for April 14th.
If they went in the
Actually,
chat.
there's still
Okay.
some folks are still chatting back there.
I have a couple of technical things. One is including I got kicked off so many times.
Yeah,
I
they're-
need somebody to.
They're doing the technical stuff. Okay, so going to end the live streams and invite you to check out my podcast. That is the Triangle Talk Show. We got that button here? Yeah, we go. Triangle Talk Show. At random, but triangletalkshow.com is the place to go if you want to check it out. And some interesting programs over there. And I'm happy to do this, and I get to stay because I've done with the radiation treatment, so don't have to run over to Rex Hospital right away. So see you next Tuesday. If not, on another Triangle Talk Show program. By the way, I'm going to do one tonight at 8 o'clock. We're going to talk about Bernie and mail-in ballots with Chris Teleska. So tune in tonight. We'll put that live on the Triangle Talk Show Facebook page and YouTube channel, and it live and then as a podcast as well. So that is it. Let me see if I can find the buttons to turn things off, over, and out.